Here in Ratheen, Ballyduff, Camolan, in North County Wexford, from within this little house down the lane, determined local people have rescued from the past, preserved and made modern the art of storytelling. The House of Storytelling, otherwise known as the House of Omreka, is where people gather in a modern era to celebrate song, dance and recitation, bringing their past with them into the future. Omreka is a cultural reservoir from where personal, family and community storytelling can be sourced and returned to the heart of Irish society. Established in 1992 by Father James Finn, it has embraced the candle and lantern atmosphere of a bygone age and transposed it into modern times, in the process cultivating an environment where people young and old can gather together freely to explore their heritage, mythology and historical origins through the avenues of social interaction and mutual performance. This initiative isn't the exclusive property of the people of Wexford, or for that matter, the people of Ireland. More often than not, a native of the USA, Spain, England, Germany, Japan, Norway, or even Australia can be found mingling amongst the regulars, soaking up Omreka's unique atmosphere. Many visitors come to research and explore their Irish ancestry, and it is from this perspective that Omreka becomes a house of reconciliation and of regeneration. From within this regenerative environment, a true sense of hospitality and of welcome has evolved. The sense of welcoming a stranger as one welcomes a friend, and just as importantly, Omreka acknowledges the stranger's story and pays tribute to the stranger's song and invites him and everyone who crosses its threshold to embrace and participate in the dance of life. An evening at Omreka begins with a warm introductory welcome to friends and guests by Ballantee, our woman of the house, Beatrice Byrne.
Good evening, friends, and you're all very welcome here this evening to join us at our House of Story, known internationally now as the House of Omreka. Here we come once a month in winter and once a week in summer to join in song and in story to keep our culture and heritage alive and to pass on to our young people what we think is worth passing on and holding on to in these times. We have enjoyed your company for many, many seasons here now. We've had visitors from far and near, from all parts of the world in fact, have crossed our doorstep and joined us here. We have enjoyed their company and they have enjoyed ours. And now I think it will be very fitting for me to sing one of Moore's melodies known as The Meeting of the Waters. There is north in this wide world a valley so sweet as the vale in whose bosom the bright waters meet. Oh, the last rays of feelings and life must depart. The bloom of that valley shall fade from my heart. The bloom of that valley shall fade from my heart.
Nostalgic memories of days gone by are frequently recalled during the course of an evening, and man of the house, Connie Rooney, otherwise known as Far on Tea, recollects the now long forgotten ritual of Chicken Market Day.
On a Tuesday morning long ago, when I was but a lad, me auntie had some fowl to sell, which made me very glad. I liked the chicken market day, there was always lots of gas. So I set off raving early for a loan at Dooley's ass. Now me auntie wasn't married, she was often kind of queer. She'd dress herself outrageous with ribbons in her hair. That morning she was stunning in a hat as green as grass, and I felt like Napoleon for driving Dooley's ass. Well, we got the chickens loaded and prepared to make the trip. Me auntie looked like Granule sitting on her hip. She saw we had the cushion, the basket and the jar, and we made a brilliant takeoff in Dooley's ass and car. Now me aunt was feeling giddy and about to crack a joke when going down Mick Foley's hill that blooming cushion broke. Then things began to happen, for Dooley's ass was smart. He wasn't going to hurt himself keeping back the cart, so he cocked his tail and signalled and shook his crooked feet and started doing 50 with the bit between his teeth. Me auntie turned purple and she grabbed the donkey's tail. I felt kind of sick and me heart began to fail. Then the chicken started squawking and the black hen laid an egg, and the blowing rains got all knotted and twisted round me legs. Then the gravel started flowing like lumps of broken glass. So God, I thought that death was very near ahead of Dooley's ass. Then the trees were like the poles you see when travelling in a train. No racing car or comet could possibly surpass the speed that generated in the feet of Dooley's ass. But Lady Luck was smiling that chicken market day, for Foley's gate was open, where the lads were drawing hay. Now me eyes were all a-goggle and me brain was in a fog, when we shot like Mick the Miller through the gate to Foley's bog. Well, it slowly dawned upon me that I wasn't really dead. Me legs that felt like rubber, I'd a singing in me head. Me auntie's face was turned like a queen to heaven gazing, and the hens were looking scareways and Dooley's ass was grazing. Well, the joy of life is glorious when you've had an hour shave, so we got back out on the road again with spirits bright and brave. The voyage was uneventful till coming near the town, when me auntie saw the blocker in the distance coming down. Now the blocker had his eye upon me auntie long ago. They say she let him down because he let his whiskers grow, but she knew his Auntie Martin's and all his crafty tricks. When he asked the price she wanted, she shouted 3 and 6. You see, I'll give a shilling and not a penny more. You can keep it, says me auntie. Now she was getting kind of sore. So she grabbed the stick in fury and administered a whack that sent the blocker reeling with a hump upon his back. Her eyes were pools of brimstone, neath a hat as green as grass. She, before I'd have you, I'd marry Dooley's ass. Well, we sold the chickens after anyway, the cock, the hens and all, and we joined a crowd of women in Cooney's Dairy Hall. We talked about the prices and the bargains that were made, while I explored the wonders of a glass of lemonade. Well, I've rounded many a turn since that chicken market day. I've passed by many an open gate, a long life's winding way. But if the world gave me all a wealth, I'd let the offer pass, to be a jarvey for me auntie again, a driving Dooley's ass.
The House of Armagh is a restored 17th century thatched farmhouse, constructed in the style of similar buildings of its era. Prior to being purchased by Father James Finn in 1990, it resembled a dilapidated old shack with crumbling corrugated iron roof. Enlisting the help of people who shared a similar vision, Father Finn set about restoring this rural, rambling house to a style befitting its former glory. A labour of love was born, and work was finally completed in 1992, with the opening night in October of the same year. At tentative interest in the beginning, only 12 people participated in the first session, and surprisingly an even lower turnout arrived on the second night. However, word gradually began to spread, and eventually attendances steadily increased to the exceptional levels of today. On a typical evening during the summer months, 170 to 200 people may attend, and numbers have been known to swell to 400 or more on occasion. Father Finn developed the idea of a house of story while studying abroad in Switzerland and the USA. Inspired by the storytelling and musical heritage of indigenous peoples he encountered and their determination to preserve their folkloric traditions, he concluded that his native homeland was as rich and as diverse in mythology and oral history as anywhere else and could directly benefit from a similar initiative. On returning to Ireland, he began his search for a suitable site, and with the invaluable assistance of like-minded individuals, he transformed his embryonic idea into the haven of folklore and history that today proudly stands in Ballyduff, in the heart of the Irish countryside. Passing on a tradition to the younger generation is an integral part of the house. Someone is keeping the tradition of sean-nós singing alive and well is Maria Hughes, who now performs the touching lament, Sweet Avondale.
Through the fair counties Meath, Wexford, Cork and Tipperary, the notes of old Erin my blackbird did sing, but woe to the hour with heart light and airy. He flew from my arms to Dublin took wing. The fowler wailed him in hopes to enchain him, while I here in sorrow his absence bewail. It grieves me to think that the walls of Kilmainham surrounds my poor blackbird of sweet Avondale. Oh, Erin, my country, awake from your slumbers and bring back my blackbird so true unto me. Let everyone know by the strength of your numbers that Ireland, a nation, would long to be free.
Probably the discipline traditionally associated with Armreacha is the cultured art form of storytelling, an example of which the story of Jim is intuitively brought to life by Etna Kilbride.
Now, the little story I'm about to tell you was a story that was told to me by my father. It happened in the townsland of Carnew in the parish of Tomacork, and it is a story about Jim. Now, I knew Jim as an old gentleman in my time, but in his young years there was one little task that Jim used to perform, and that was that when an infant would die in a house, he would go to that house, usually with a little coffin he'd made for it, and take that infant, put it into the coffin, hoist it on his shoulders and go along the 1.5 miles of the mass path to the cemetery for burial. He'd dig a little hole for that little coffin and bury it. Now, Jim was gravedigger, undertaker and priest on these occasions. Now, there was 2 reasons for the lateness of this burial. One was that Jim had a family and he couldn't afford to take the day off. And the second reason was because the older children of the family sometimes weren't told about this little death in the family. And to that end, you see, when the children would get up in the morning, the infant would be gone. He was gone to heaven. Now, Jim grew old and feeble as years went on, and he wasn't able to perform this little labour of love, as he called it. For some reason